of guns. This is all following the Connecticut school shooting, and we've been talking about this all week. And if you're a parent, like I know I am, maybe you've been struggling on how to talk to your kids about violence, which can, it just seems like it's everywhere today. TV, video games, movies, the music that the kids listen to. How do you teach your kids the difference between, harming people in real life versus gaming? And so our trauma specialist, she's become the shrink to the Scott and BR Plus Amber Show. Robyn Firtel is here. Good morning, Robyn.
Good morning, Scott. Nice to see you.
Thank you. You too. I will tell you that, and I told the story the other day, I was in with my 3 daughters the other day, and one of my daughters, who's 9 years old, told me, Dad, I'm scared. I don't even want to go back to school. And I tried to, what I tried to do was, you're safe, you don't have to worry about it, we live in a great community. But I was only saying those things. I mean, what should we be saying?
In that case, I would be talking to her more about the heroes in the story, or just acts of compassion that you've seen in the story where people are reaching out in the community and bringing all the teddy bears, and talking to her about things that are more safe and people that are doing acts of kindness, and to kind of balance the whole story out.
Yeah, are we trying to shield these kids? Are we lying to them? Should we not be more open and honest?
I think, like we had talked about before, less disclosure sometimes is better. And it's very important that we balance all this out by teaching them acts of kindness and love and compassion. So shielding is good.
My bigger, listen, everybody's talking about guns, and I get it, right? And mental illness, and I get that part of it too. But I just think that the gaming side of things.
Yeah.
I showed earlier a video of what this Black Ops something violent video game, and it's this glorification of violence. What do you find? Do you have anybody in your practice where they're young people and they're like addicted to these violent video games?
I have a young client that came in that had a hard time interacting with kids, and one of the first things I told the parents is he's got to stop watching the video games. The Black Ops video game that you're talking about is a video game where they're getting points for killing people. And so their brains are being desensitized. And they're watching the video game, they're not interacting with other kids, and they're losing consciousness. Kids aren't interacting with one another anymore.
And by the way, as you say this, the kid, Lanza, the 20-year-old who did this, the story is that he almost lived the way it sounds, almost like locked in a basement, sheltered from the outside world, playing hours and hours of violent video games. So when you have the access to the video games and the hours that he spent playing them, with all the guns in the home, for mom who was like preparing for Armageddon, right? And then you have his own issues. They said that he was autistic. It seems like is there a difference? What's Asperger's?
Asperger's is a little bit different. Asperger's hasn't been correlated a lot with violence, though.
Well,
it hasn't been.
Yeah, that community is saying, please don't.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you create that combination,
that's the combination we're talking about: the lack of social interaction, compassion not being taught, kindness not being taught, isolation, and the seeds that are being planted by these video games and the movies that kids are watching today. From a very early age, they're getting points for killing people. Hours and hours of video games.
When you say teach compassion, do you literally mean sitting kids down and saying, here's how to be nice, or do you mean just sort of the example that you set?
Well, that's a really good example. So, for example, if you're driving and somebody is driving horribly in front of you, instead of saying, what a stupid idiot, when the kids are watching, you can say something like, well, maybe that person's having a bad day. Your kids come home from school and so-and-so was mean to them. You can say to them, well, what do you think's going on in their lives? And they're watching you. They're watching us when we're going through the grocery line. They're watching what we're doing and how we're treating other people. So that's how you teach compassion.
You're in a restaurant. Things aren't working for you. Are you nasty to the waiter or waitress?
Are you kind?
Or are you polite about it? Yeah, the kids are always watching. And
they're watching.
And that's the thing. If they're watching, they're learning from the things that we do. And then you let a kid sit in front of a video game, for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and now all these video games are interactive. They've got headphones on and microphones, and they're talking to each other, and they're trying to kill one another.
Yes.
It just, listen, I don't know if there's scientific evidence to prove that what we're talking about
There is. There is. Heart rate is increased, conduct disorder, antisocial behavior, all of that is, research has shown that does increase conduct disorder in kids.
I'm not like a lot of people think, guns, can't have guns, can't produce these sorts of guns, can't have these guns available to people. And then there's the whole other argument, which is, well, there are a lot of really responsible people who have these guns. For me, I'm not saying these violent video games should be banned, they shouldn't be able to be made. Would you agree there's a lot of people that can sit there and watch them, play them?
And not.
Right, but yet there's always that 1 in a billion guy.
Well, I think it's not just the video games or the gun control. It's the whole picture. It's our parenting, it's the media, it's the gun control. It's a whole there's a whole basket of different things to look at.
You just said the best part of it, I think, which is parenting.
Parenting is the number one.
Because I think we're going to find out that this kid was, the stories now are, he didn't talk to people, he didn't look at people, he didn't move without his mother telling him what to do.
Yeah.
Again, he sounds like he was a prisoner in the basement.
Yes, and his mom didn't get him any mental health services. And so I think as a society, we really need to look at, as far as parenting, are we moving our kids more towards having compassion, having more love, having more peace, or are we moving them more towards fear and violence? And we've got to take a really hard look at this, and I think this is a wake-up call, and I'm really sad that this is what it took.
Right, and so, we like I said, the immediate reaction is, hurry up, guns, that's the problem. But there's a whole lot more.
There's a whole lot more that's going to take a lot longer than just gun control.
And so, I know that we'll continue this conversation.
Yes.
Great to see you as always.
Good to see you too.
Very,
Thank
very
you.
much. Don't go anywhere. So much more to come on the Scott BR plus Amber show. And coming up, a late night water throwdown, and MTV closes another chapter. Our entertainment news will lighten things up next on the Scott BR plus Amber show on Wednesday.